A three, a two, a three, two, one. Start.
Hey, Jason, how you doing? How you doing?
I am good. How are you doing?
I'm very good. I wouldn't good. I'm good because I've been reading some interesting books recently, and that has just those books have made my life interesting. Let me say that.
Just 1 or 2 minutes. Can you tell us what interesting books are these?
So the first book I've been reading is Jordan Peterson's new book, 12 More Rules.
It's literally sitting in my Amazon cart, just waiting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And the other book I am reading is C.S. Lewis's Creative Platters. And I'm sure you know what 12 More Rules is about, or rather what it concerns. But Screwtape Letters is a very interesting book about one demon sending letters to another. A demon called Screwtape sending letters to another demon called Wormwood, telling him how to control or lead a human soul into damnation. You know, it's like talking about how to be the best way to corrupt a human soul.
You know,
And as I'm reading this book, I realize, wow, this thing it's like on point. It's how I would see myself corrupting myself. How I have been corrupted in the past.
you know what's funny?
Mm-hmm.
I had that book in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I think Max has that book.
Oh yeah. Max told me it's one of his favorite books.
Yeah, no, Max, it used to lie around on his table for so long, and I read the first couple of pages, and I was just like, I don't get this book, you know? But at the time, it was just like, that was like 18-year-old Jason, who's, I was a fool, basically.
Yeah.
I think I was not, like, mentally ready for a book like that.
Oh man, we're still definitely at the age of 18. What are we thinking about? Like we think about being billionaires,
Billionaires, anime, fuck the system,
and
That's
girls,
like,
yeah.
And this thing is trying to tell me about corruption of the human soul. Ah, man, shut the fuck
we're
up.
That's nonsense. That's
shut
nonsense.
the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. So, did you listen to the last episode?
Oh yes, I did just 2 days ago, actually.
Oh, I am guilty this time. I have not finished it.
Yeah.
I am towards the end. The end. Which is funny because I actually thought the ending was where we started getting really interesting,
Oh yeah, closing it off with how the correlation or causation between religion and poor economy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I think you are drawing the connection between people who are poor tend to be more religious. Was it you or me?
It was me. I was doing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So, leading into this week's conversation, right? It seems like for the longest time, there's been something innate in humans that wants to believe in something greater than ourselves. And I want us to talk about the history of religion and sort of how it's mapped out the entire civilization, right? I think it's very hard to talk about history without talking about religion to some certain aspect.
It's not possible. It's actually not possible.
I think religion is just such a major pillar of our civilization that at some point you just have to bring it up, right?
Yeah.
And we can go back as like literally like 10,000 BC, where it's like this cave paintings of is it Neanderthals? No, I think it was Homo sapiens.
No, it's Homo sapiens. Yeah.
You can literally find like cave paintings of them doing like ritualistic or shamanistic type rituals, involving animals and stuff like that. So there's like evidence to point out that this has been happening for a very long time. What do you think? I guess this is the first question. What do you think is like? Why are humans like that? Why must we believe in this like higher power?
I think we believe in the higher power because we are part biological creature and part symbolic creature. And our symbolic selves lies in the eternal, but the biological self is trapped in time. So we seek out the symbolic more than we take care of the biological.
When did we become symbolic? Okay, what do you mean? What do you mean? First of all, I can't understand what you mean by that was symbolic creatures, but there are people out there who might not really.
Okay, so when I speak of
understand that.
symbolic, when I speak of symbolic creatures, I'm referring to the fact that as human beings, we tend to be concerned with the future. The future is not a real thing. The future is not here. The only thing we have right now is the present, right? But the fact that we can imagine a future, the fact that we can anticipate a future, that's symbolic, in and of itself. Because the future, imagine this: people die every day, right? And one of the only reasons why you think you wouldn't die in the next moment is because you haven't died in the past moment, right?
That is true.
Yes. So you go on living as though tomorrow is guaranteed, right? So you make plans for tomorrow. You have goals, you have hopes, you have aspirations, and all these things are symbolic. They are not real. Your hopes are not real. Your hopes are not guaranteed, but you still aspire to them. You walk towards them. That's the symbolism. I wanted to say love is symbolic, but I don't think love is symbolic. I think love is more biological than symbolic.
I think there's symbolic and biological aspects to it.
I mean, the way we express love is very symbolic, but I think the root at the core of love is a very biological thing, a very innately biological thing.
Okay. Yeah, I can agree to that. At what point... So here's a question. At what point did we become symbolic?
I think we became symbolic when Adam and Eve ate a damn fruit. That's when we became symbolic.
Okay.
Anyway, but seriousness, I think we became symbolic when... So according to the story, our ancestors discovered fire, and they learned how they mastered fire, and they decided to cook instead of just eating raw food. And what happened is
fire. Okay.
Yes. And when you eat raw cooked food, your body uses less energy to process and digest the food, right? Like if you look at a gorilla, right? Gorillas just eat leaves and twigs and grass, right? And if you look at their torsos are huge. Like they have a stocky torso because they need this massive internal digestive system to process all of the greens they're eting, right?
Same thing for cows, right? Cows,
yes,
4 stomachs.
Exactly.
All they do is eat is grass.
And they're just eating for the whole day, basically, right? Yep. Because how many calories can you get from just eating grass, right?
Nothing. You're getting nothing.
Exactly. But for human beings, we learned how to cook food. And now it's like most of the food we're eating is kind of being digested outside before it's taken into our bodies, right? So the energy that would have been used to digest food went up into our brains.
And then we got good at packing lots of calories into small amounts of
Exactly. Food. Because think about it. In the human body, nothing takes up more energy than the brain. Nothing takes more energy than the brain.
I think it takes up it's a tenth of the mass, and it takes up 30%, something.
I'm not sure about the numbers, but I know it takes most of the percentage of energy. And I was reading this interesting article about how chess players who have a day-long chess competition burn around 3,000 to 4,000 calories.
Wait, is that true for real?
Yep. It doesn't even make sense, right? They're just sitting down, But it's the way they're thinking. They're thinking so deeply, so keenly, so attentively. Right? Anyway, so the point I'm making is I think we became symbolic when we started to eat cooked food and our brains started to evolve, started to consume more energy, whereby we became conscious, right?
So just quickly,
consciousness.
The number is, the brain represents 2%, not even 10%, 2% of the total brain, or the body weight, right? And accounts for 20% of body energy, of the body energy's use. This is just base numbers. So like you said, you can probably push that even more, right? Maybe you can push it to 30% if you're being super... You have a big brain and you're thinking a lot, right?
Yeah. People like Elon Musk. How much energy are they using?
I'm that ratio is ridiculous, though.
Yeah, right.
2% to 20%.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. I think that's when we became symbolic, when our brain started to do this, when we became conscious, when we were able to plan for the future, right? That's when we became conscious. That's when we became symbolic.
So what I understood,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I was reading this. Man, I need to really start writing down some of these sources, but I read a theory about how it's when we started connecting colors,
Mm-hmm.
when we started creating symbols around colors,
Mm-hmm.
is when our earliest forms of symbolic thinking came into being.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we'd start to like associate red with like danger, for example, or red
Okay.
could be
Okay.
something like passion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and then we could also look at red as like being a fruit that is ripe too.
Mm-hmm.
And then we associate that red with also being like something that is healthy, something that is ready to be worked on, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like when we started creating those connections and those like patterns in our mind
Mm-hmm.
was like the very beginning of that symbolic thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that interesting because it's like, I guess when you look around and you become conscious, you can't escape the world of color that we live in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of the world of color that is just so, it's just so ingrained in our reality. Like me and you don't even think about it, right? But if you like
Yep.
take a moment to look around, it's like we're surrounded by so many different colors, so many different shades, you know? And we never
Mm-hmm.
really like, it becomes so normal to us, you know?
I think it will be frightening to be able to realize the fact that you are conscious of all these colors. To be to consciously be aware of all the different colors around you all the time, I think would be overwhelming.
You think it'd be overwhelming?
Yeah, like imagine. Of course, now we are conscious of the colors without thinking about it, right? It's just a part of our lives. But imagine at every single moment realizing how deep blue the blue before you is, to realizing how brilliant red the red before you is,
Mm-hmm.
I think that will be akin to taking a psychedelic. It will be too much for you to take.
I mean, like, it's funny because these colors can invoke different feelings in you. I know it works for
Mm-hmm.
different people, right? And this is based on obviously the experiences that you've had, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oscar can look at like a yellow rose and he'll
Mm-hmm.
remember, oh, this yellow rose, that's the one yellow rose I gave to like my first girlfriend and good times. You know, remember good times. Then
Mm-hmm.
maybe somebody else can look at a yellow rose and be like, oh, this is the yellow rose I used to see around in my playground when I was a kid and stuff like that, or in my backyard. So it's like, and okay, maybe I'm even being too specific, like saying it's a rose. It literally, like, just simple colors can change how we think and how we feel and the mood. And I think one of the best ways is that I think Tokyo, is it Tokyo, or like even some of the big cities in, I think even Osaka does this, right? Where it's like at night they use blue shades, blue lamps, like the night lights are like they have the color, they have a shade of blue as the color.
I've never paid attention to that. I'll check tonight and let you know.
And the purpose of that is because they run psychology, like they've done a whole psychology like thing around it where it's like the shade of blue tends to calm people down.
Mm-hmm.
And they saw that when people are surrounded by a lot more blue or like shades
Mm-hmm.
of blue, they
Mm-hmm.
tend to be less prone to breaking laws, more calm, more passive, more docile, I guess, more docile.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is in Tokyo, you know?
Okay. I'll have to look that up. I'm not aware of this.
Blue in the night lights.
Okay, so
And
let's move on to like the idea of like symbolism and religion. Like,
so it
I
started
think we're
out
going a bit off topic.
as like, okay, so we have the shamanistic type. Shamanism came first, right? Like I'm trying to think about it, like shamanism and maybe polytheistic.
Polytheism, I guess, will be. No, the shamans are basically priests in the religion, right? they're basically the ones who are able to communicate with God or the gods,
or spirits.
Yes, or spirits, yeah, whatever you want to call it. And so, yeah, I think.
Wait, no, but gods and spirits are different, right?
Yeah, sure thing. Yeah, so,
you don't sound.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you.
Okay,
I agree with you. I don't think this is the point right now.
Okay.
So with shamans, I think you cannot have shamans without a religion or without some spiritual notions around. So I don't know who came first, the shamans or the religion. Actually, that's interesting. It could be possible that you have people who claim to talk to spirits and gods, and around those people a religion was founded. That could be the case.
I think
actually that makes more sense.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it happened.
Yeah.
Or somebody had like a deep, what we call a deep quote unquote religious experience, right? A spiritual experience.
Yes.
And then he would run to his community and said, I saw X, Y, and Z, And then maybe some people tried doing it and they were like, oh my God, he's right, Or even like he could be like funny enough, he could be like a Jordan Peterson type figure, where it's like, he doesn't necessarily have to be somebody who experienced like a deep religious experience and explain it to the community. It could be somebody who just thinks about what's happening around them and brings all those ideas into form, right? So I use Jordan Peterson as an example because Jordan Peterson isn't saying, for me and you, and even for like people who start listening to him, right? It's like, wait, you start thinking, what is this guy talking about? The things that he's talking about are such, like, you think it's almost like common sense, right? Of course I know this stuff,
Yeah.
I've been learning this stuff for a very long time, right? But it's more or less like he helps you think more critically about some of these ideas and why they exist in the first place. Because a lot of us just learn them and we don't really understand the purpose behind some of those ideas, right? Like why you should smile all the time, why like I don't know, give me a random life rule that he has.
Stand up straight.
Stand up straight. Were we taught that?
Yeah, we were told that, like, don't slouch.
Don't slouch. Yeah, don't slouch, right? You should stand up straight. And no one gave you an explanation to why, right?
Yeah, so simple.
And I think innately we know the idea of like, if you're slouching or if your body posture can affect the way your mind is thinking, or the way you receive information, right? And I think me and you know this because of our students too, right?
Yes.
If our students are lying down, they can be listening to you, but they're not really listening to you, right? As properly as if
they're not there.
Yeah, as properly as if they were like sitting straight, completely straight, and just looking you right in the eye, right? So innate stuff like that. So somebody might have just like they might have just gone to the woods and thought about like, what are we doing in our society, And then you've been like, actually this killing thing, it's bad. So he writes this down as rule number 1. This thing, and then he really thinks about it, right? He's like, okay, killing is bad because of X, Y, and Z, So he basically creates this huge tablet that seems like the word of God, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Something that they all know to be true because they're already practicing those rules in their culture, but no one has written them down. No one has laid it out so bare and so clear so everyone can see. And then this person comes back from the forest and goes like, hey, bam, this is what we've been doing this entire time. Everyone's like, oh my God, what the fuck? This guy is a prophet, right? So
yeah, that makes total sense. I agree.
That's I guess that's probably what happened, How do you think polytheistic religions, like pantheons, like the Roman pantheon, the Greek pantheons, or how do you think those types of religions came into being?
But in all honesty, those religions make more sense than monotheistic religions, and monotheistic religions are newer. The oldest religions are all polytheistic.
Is that?
Yep. The oldest religions, like according to historically, the first monotheistic religion, as far as I know, was in Egypt after one pharaoh died and the son wanted to change the rules or the laws held by his father. I think it was Akhenaten. Like I forgot the name, but Egypt was initially always polytheistic, but then this new pharaoh came to power and he changed everything. He said, no, there's only one God. Yeah, so think about it. If you live in the world, if you're a hunter-gatherer, you live in the forest, you're searching for food, you're hunting, all these things, you're drinking water from the river. I don't think you'll assume it's one God giving you the meat, giving you the water, like giving you shade, It makes more sense to appreciate these different aspects of nature through different spiritual spirits or different gods.
We talked about the father and the mother. The yin and yang forces that surround us. I think yin and yang is better, One being the feminine force that seems to be a lot more caring, beautiful, and gives you this like creation, right? You see the creation, you see the beauty of creation, and you see like the gentleness and the gentleness around it, and then you see the destruction too, right? When you see that, it's hard to associate that as one thing.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think polytheistic religions make more sense than monotheistic religion. It's just so we assume monotheism is a fact, or rather it's the way things should be because we were raised as Christians. And the people around us who aren't Christians, when we were growing up, you and I, were Muslims, right?
Sorry, say that again.
Like for you and I, right? You and I were raised as Christians. Catholic for me, I don't know about you. Were you a Catholic, by the way? Or are you a Catholic? Okay, Protestant. And the people around you and I that were not Christians were mostly Muslims, right?
Okay.
At least for me, the people around me that were not Christian or Muslims. So I was surrounded by monotheism around me. I didn't grow up with many people who are Hindus or Buddhists, I knew one or two Hindus, but we never talked about their religion. But I talked about Islam a lot with my Muslim friends.
Yeah. Me being from Mombasa, also, there are lots of there's quite a bit big Islamic population.
Yeah. So that's what I think. So we will. So first, I remember being a kid and realizing at some point that some religions have multiple gods, and I thought that's crazy. How does that work? I thought it's mad. I wouldn't call it. I didn't think it was blaspheming or anything, but I thought it's just how can you have many gods? How can many gods exist? I thought it's only one God that is omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent. So if all the gods are omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient, so how is that going to work?
I don't know. I just think so differently now, I'm not the way I am now. I think about my younger self, and it's just wait, how can you not believe that there's many gods? That to you, that kind of makes more sense than believing there's just one almighty being that is always watching over you and doing all these kinds of things. It's that's an insane idea,
Yeah, it's hard to right now as I think through it and as I read multiple things. The idea that there's only one God, it doesn't matter whether they believe in this or not. The idea that there's only one God seems like more of a crazy idea than the idea that there are multiple gods.
Maybe that's part of the hipness of why Christianity and Judaism that brought in so many people in the beginning, because everyone was believing in so many. Basically, the counter-culture push. That was part of its counter-culture push. Everyone was believing in so many different ideas, right? We have the Roman pantheon, Then we hear this new religion, in the outskirts. Oh, believe in this one person, and he'll save your soul. There's a heaven, Garden of Eden. Hear all these stories, and it's just what is this blasphemy, But everyone's listening to it, it's just wait, there's one God, one Almighty God,
just one.
Everyone's just whoa. You might think this sounds ridiculous. In your mind, you're okay, I'm not really believing this, but I want to hear more. Where is it? Where is it going?
And also, not only that, but even just now, I'm going to say it kind of was a joke, but also kind of serious. it's kind of convenient to just have one God, It's convenient,
No, you're right.
Think
no,
about
actually, you're right. You're right. I think it is convenient.
Am I going to pray to all these gods? Am I going to pray for the god of the farm, for the god of the lake, the god of the mountain, or just one god? They're just asking for everything.
The god of fertility, the god of like drinking and wine.
Yeah.
The god of dreams. Yeah, you're right. Believing in one God. So, I guess we can talk about the early times. So, what were the religions in the early times? Let's say like 1000 BCE, running
So
up
like
to like 0 BC.
back then,
I guess
as far as I've read, when most of human society was, when most of the humans in the world, most of the human population was hunter-gatherer, our religions were mostly animistic. That means like worshipping the tree spirits, worshipping the forest spirits, worshipping the animal spirits.
And shamanism.
Yes. Yeah, I mean like shamanism goes hand in hand with the animistic religions. So I will say that back then that was the initial start of human religion. And like if you think about it, right? The three major religions we have today, it's Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, right? And this is, at least in the West, these are the three major religions. And what you find is that all of these three religions were influenced by Egyptian religions, right?
Yep.
And so, as the story goes, Moses was, if you want to use the word aristocrat, in the Egyptian courts, in the Egyptian high court, right? And through what he learned there, and realized that he too was truly Jewish. He took the things he had learned in the great libraries of the Egyptian Jewish court and took it to the Jewish slaves and taught them about religion. And to make them different, he gave them the idea of one God, a monotheistic God. And as they left Egypt and went to Israel, they developed this new religion, Judaism, right, which was their thing. And from Judaism, we have the story of Abraham and his son Isaiah, who is claimed to be the father of Islam, right? And not only that, like now think of the earlier on, like Egyptian religion came from something much older, something that even I don't think even the historical records exist to tell us what was the foundation of Egyptian religion. How did it start? It's too far into the past. It's too far. We might not have those records. So we were. I think even Christianity, Islam, Judaism, all the religions that exist today were all influenced by the animistic religions of our hunter-gatherer forefathers.
I think they definitely, similar to how I want to think of an easier example. Knowledge and the nature of knowledge in our human civilization in general just builds off of one another, right?
Of course.
You can't have a car without the advent of the wheel, right?
Of course.
Like I think even in religion, even though some of them are definitely contradictory, to create those contradictory ideas, you need a base to work off from, right? Like you need that initial contrast, something to bounce off of your new religion, if you're creating something that is different. So it's like you will always have that. I guess maybe is this just contextual though? No, I feel like I don't know. There might be some really weird religions out there though, that are completely new and completely different from the mold. But like, okay, let's focus on the big three, like what you talk about. You will always find like with the big major religions, they have connections to a lot of past religions, right?
Okay.
Like what you said, it builds off of ideas from when we were like hunter gatherers, when we were building, when we were like whatever, when we were like believing in tree spirits and all those kinds of stuff. I think the major religions we have now, the major world religions we have now, really started getting their foothold in the Middle Ages. I think the Middle Ages is where it's like you have Christianity that's really getting deep into the West, right? You have Buddhist missions in the East Asia, which is like India all the way to China, and Japan too, right? Um, you have the spread of Islam, right? Middle East, Central East, Africa, some parts of Europe too, and India too. So like Middle Ages is where you start to see like, oh, and we have to talk about religion and war too, because the wars of the Middle Ages, it's like, So what do you think? What do you think? I think Middle Ages is where we start to see the forming of like the footholds that the world religions that we have today. That's where they started.
I never thought about that before, but just thinking about it now, I can imagine that in the Middle Ages, when you had a lot of societal interactions, right?
Yeah.
You have I agree. Societies were interacting with one another, and if people interact, they tend to influence each other. And if what you're telling me sounds sweeter, then whatever you have is sweeter than what I currently know, I'll tend to agree with you, right? Yeah. So So I think it was at some point, I think it was Spain. Spain was majorly an Islamic state. Some parts of Spain, or the whole of Spain, I'm not quite sure, was majorly Islamic, right? Yeah, I'm not sure if it's Spain. Yeah, Spain, Portugal, Spain and Islam. Let me look up.
Spain and Portugal were mostly Christian, though.
Yeah, but I'm talking about in the past, right?
In the past? Like, how far are we going in the past? Because I think they've always been, like, straight up Christian. They, like, Spain, the king of Spain was part of the Crusades, right? Actually, the Holy Roman, he was part of, like, wow. Okay. So the king of Spain.
Okay, so listen to this. In 711, Muslim forces invaded and in 7 years conquered the Iberian Peninsula. It became one of the great Muslim civilizations, reaching its summit in the Umayyad Caliphate of Cordovian, the 10th century. Muslim rule declined after that and ended in 1492. So Spain was part of the Islam Caliphate until 1492.
I did not know that. Damn.
Yeah.
That must have been a very short run. I've just I've only heard of the Christian influences around like Spain and Spanish culture. I've never heard of Islam.
It's not short. From the year 711 to 1492. That's very long.
I've never heard of that. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Is this like?
Yeah.
I guess maybe it started. That's the great. I guess that's what they know as like the golden period of Islam, like Islamic conquest.
Yes.
Started around like 600. It spread really fast,
So like from the year 711 to 1492 is longer than from the year 1492 to 2021. So Spain was Muslim longer than it has been Christian.
Wasn't it Christian before that though?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm just talking about I'm just looking at the time frame, right? As then to now, 711 to now, Yeah.
Why do people go to wars over their religion?
Why do people go to wars over their religion? Because I think this goes back to human nature. It's like it's human ego. It's human ego. I'm right, and I can't believe why you don't see that I'm right. Especially something as important as life after death.
So you die, motherfucker? That's our conclusion.
So you die. It's like you join me or you die. Because if you don't join me, your children might infect my children with your filthy ideas.
So it's more of like a clean. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Keeping everything organized and clean.
Exactly. I don't want your children with their filthy other world religions talking to my children, but I can't ensure that my children will never interact with your children. So you convert or you die.
It's funny. That even applies still today.
Yeah, I mean, it applies to everything. I mean, it applies to religion, to politics,
Yeah, the social game too that we're playing, right?
Yeah.
The weird hey, go woke or go broke.
Exactly.
You either join us on the left here, where everyone is safe, everyone has a safe space, or you fucking die and you get cancelled.
Yeah.
You don't have a career anymore.
So why do people kill over religion, man? If if we're going to go back again, once again to the Old Testament God was ruthless, right? And God demanded to be worshipped. He didn't ask politely. He demanded to be worshipped. So it made sense for you to kill in the name of God.
God the Father. Yeah, this is
God the Father. Yeah, it's basically it's Christian. It's jihad. It's Christian jihad, right? We just don't call it that because that sounds fucked up. But it was Christian jihad. And right now we have
what's
Islamic
jihad mean again? Call to action? Like that's
what is
it was like
yeah.
something like that.
Sure.
Call to action,
So, like, according to this, the Arabic term jihad literally means a struggle or striving. So the term appears in the Quran in different contexts and can conclude various forms of non-violent struggles. For instance, the struggle to become a better person.
It's a really beautiful word, actually. It has a really beautiful meaning.
I mean, it might. Here's the thing with going back to
again. It's the way we perceive it now. It's just like,
yes, exactly.
We're going to do jihad.
Yeah. No one wants to hear that word,
and it's just like, oh, this is like a call to action for terrorists. Is the way we think about it now. But it's like, it's a lot more than that, But like what you said, it's basically like Christian jihadism.
Yeah, we just don't call it jihad in Christianity. we call it a righteous war. And
it helps that English is like a very widespread language, if Islam was if Arabic was a very widespread language, then we probably think different about that word.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so definitely, like, there's no way, like, especially like now we have a lot of material gains because of science, and technology and innovation that have kind of pushed us away from the realm of religion, right? So now we're not really bickering over religion. But if we didn't have these things, if I didn't have my iPhone to distract me with Instagram, I might take the Bible seriously. I just might start to take the Bible really seriously. And then I'm going to think that people who are taking the Bible seriously are not serious about life and life or death. So I need to talk to them about it. I need to inform them that the way they're living is wrong. And what happens if they're not listening? What do I do if they're not listening? I have to do something about that, Jason. I have to do something about that.
Do you really?
Yeah, it's not about. Yeah, but really, yes, I have to. Really, I have to, right?
Hold on.
Really, I have to.
1 second, my mic just fell. Oh no. Experiencing technical problems. Sorry, guys. And now, anyway, continue talking.
Yeah, so I really have to do something about it, right? Because what I'm learning, what the information I'm gaining from the Bible it's not just knowledge, it's truth. I'm learning the truth. I'm getting to see the truth, right? And once I see the truth and I see that my friends and my family are not living the truth, that will hurt me, and I have to help them, teach them and show them the way to the light, lest they're damned eternally,
I do get your point where it's like there's this potential of, because these people are different from we are, maybe this is just like our irrational fear that we have, but no, maybe it's actually based in truth. But there's this idea of like, hey, because we have these differing ideas, there's the potential of them causing my kids suffering in the future. So me as the father and as the elder in the part of this elder generation, I should solve this problem for my children,
Of course. Yeah. I
agree. We talk to them, and if they don't listen, we kill them.
We take out the belt,
Yeah. We take out the belt, It's just like it makes sense. It's like we have these ideas that orient us in the world, right? And these ideas, because of how symbolistic we've become, they're like almost our everything. So people are willing to die for their belief in these ideas, right? And I think it's just a natural conclusion. If people are willing to die for their ideas and what they believe in, then
I think even death, even killing or dying for an idea is a big step. Maybe let's go back to the idea of being symbolic. Sometimes dying in a sense for your idea is just willing to lose a friend over an idea, right? Willing to end a relationship over an idea.
But I think some people are willing to like put their own lives on the line.
Yeah, but I'm saying like that's the very extreme case, right?
Is it?
But in order for you to die for an idea, that's at least in today's world. That's very
in today's world, right? Exactly. I'm like, back then, Oscar, like remember we're putting this in like historical terms. Back then, everyone was willing to put their life down for their gods.
No, not really everyone. We can't be sure if it was everyone, right?
Most,
because
there was a lot more.
What we know as a fact is that many people who went to fight those religious wars were just farmers who have plucked out of their fields.
But
right, and told you have to go and fight, and if you don't fight, you wouldn't be allowed to work in the field anymore. You won't get your pay. You won't get your weekly food. Your family will starve. Not everyone was just going because they want to die for God. And this is historical record. Some of them were just plucked out. It was just a form of conscription. Like you go or your family starves.
I think so. First of all, can we agree that death was just a lot more acceptable? Like that was just more accepted as a thing back then.
What do you mean? It's accepted now. It's accepted now as well. Yeah.
People, death was more common. Rather, death was more common.
Well, I mean, it doesn't make sense for you to say that. I mean, now there are more people, which means there are also more people dying. You know, so like, what do you mean it was more common?
It was more common.
It was more common to see death around you.
Yes, it was more common to see death. An average human being probably saw way more death than the people right now.
Okay.
Right. Getting to the age, like in the Middle Ages, if you were above the age of like 30, man, your life was good, right? If you had made it that fucking far, right?
Okay.
And that being like, if people know, like, okay, I'm probably only gonna get 30 years out of this, right? It forces you to think about the purpose of your life sooner.
Okay. Okay.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
And like you said, people don't have Instagram. People don't have like capitalism at this time. People can't just go there and be like, I'm going to make my business. I'm going to have X, Y, and Z. People have religion that's just like, religion at this point in the Middle Ages is just like, it's a very, very strong influencer. So people are probably thinking, the purpose of my life is to serve God, or to at least, find a way, find a path to this eternal what? To internal enlightenment, to eternal, or find a pathway into immortality, living forever. And you get offered this path through like Christianity or Islam or Buddhism, where it's like, hey, you get to live forever if you do X, Y, and Z, but you have to do X, Y, and Z and put your life down on the line.
Yeah, but like, I agree with that, but also at the same time, historical records do show us that not everyone who fought in these religious wars joined willingly.
Which is fine.
Most of them did not join willingly.
That's fine. My point is that people, the idea of dying for religion, and the people who actually practice that were a lot more back then than they are now.
Of course. Like, I said earlier, like, now we have innovation and technology to distract us, right? However, I also think that before you're willing to accept the idea of physically dying for a religion, you have to accept the idea of losing things in your life for the religion or for the idea, right?
Losing things in your life?
Yeah, I mean like losing a relationship because she doesn't believe in God the way I do, losing friends, losing your employment, betraying your kids or your family for the religion.
I don't know, because the world was a lot more smaller. People used to form the most closest relationships were formed within like these tight-knit communities. So like the chances are you're marrying your neighbor or something.
What? Sorry, one more time.
The chances are you're marrying like your neighbor or something. So
yeah, but like... I agree. But the point I'm trying to make here is that it's hard for you to accept physical death. To go to such an extreme case if the low level concerns have not been dealt with, right? Like if I'm not willing to lose my wife because she doesn't believe in fighting for God, then why would I be willing to go and die for God? Why do I want to keep my relationship with my wife if I know I'm going to die anyway for God, and she doesn't believe in God the way I do?
Okay.
Or she's not a Christian, right? So what I'm thinking here is that in order for someone to be willing to die for their religion or for an idea, they must first be willing to lose other things in their life for that idea. And that even goes into play today, right?
Okay. Now I get what you're saying now.
Like, death. Like the idea that a Muslim will go into jihad and become a suicide bomber, for instance, right? That person, before a person does that, they must have lost so many things in their life to consider that as the answer, right? No rich Muslim from a billionaire family who went to Harvard is considering being a suicide bomber, right?
Actually, there's plenty of like kids from wealthy countries that joined ISIS.
Oh yes, that's true.
But that's a big downgrade in terms of like the standard of living, just of course. But beliefs.
But now that's a very small percentage. You can't tell me that's 50% of them, right?
Well, we're talking about the things that people are willing to do in general, right?
Yeah. But like the mass of them are people who have lost many other things in their life, right? To consider being a suicide bomber, you must have lost a lot.
I think you don't necessarily have to lose it, but you're definitely willing to sacrifice all of these things.
Okay, sacrifice. Okay, sacrifice. Okay, that's actually better. That's better than losing. That's a better phrase. Okay, I'll go with that.
I agree with what you're saying, because sacrificing yourself is the ultimate sacrifice. It goes against every biological parameter that your cells and your DNA have been trying to preserve themselves.
But then now the question is, like, why would someone want to sacrifice themselves?
Because we're symbolic creatures now. So it's
yeah, we're symbolic creatures, right? It's the same as
I'm dying so
the symbolism
that the people in the future can live a better life.
So in this sense, this symbolism overwhelms biological drives, right?
Yes, biological, the innate rule of like
survival, propagation of your genes.
Preservation,
Yeah, I agree with this.
Which from a rational standpoint, like you think it's just like a bunch of monkeys. It's like we're being monkeys, actually, you know? Bunch of hairless apes. They're willing to die for like what? You know?
Yeah.
But again,
it's like if you look at it that way, we're dumber than all the other apes, you know?
Exactly. It's like, isn't that there's a quote like, only human beings can kill each other over wearing different colors in different areas. Other animals, they just kill each other because they're hungry, and then that's it, right? Or if you cross my territory, I'm trying to protect my young, something like that, right? Simple ideas. We're the ones who are like, motherfucker, you walked into the wrong neighborhood, son, and you're wearing red, you die. You know, it's only human beings that are doing that. But again, we've provided context now. It's obviously not as simple as that. When you provide the right context, it does make sense, you know. I guess it's just a consequence of how complex our thinking, or how it's just a consequence of the ever-changing thinking around symbolism in our culture and in our civilization, you know. And in some cases it'll help us provide us with the ideas to perform, to like create structures like capitalism and stuff like that will help better ourselves and our civilization as a whole. And in some cases it leads to wars over simple stuff as like, hey, you dissed my god, so you die now, you know. It can be as simple as that. I just think ultimately it's just the benefits and consequences of symbolic thinking, you know. So yeah, people are willing to die for their ideas.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we do die for ideas every day.
Yeah. I think the famous quote is like, every man dies, but not every man lives. I guess
what does that mean?
Which is to say that the minute you're born, you're guaranteed death, right? But lots of people go out throughout life without knowing who they are and their purpose, and like finding like true purpose in their lives. True purpose, or like we know people say true purpose, but basically what it means is like finding something that makes them happy, something that makes them content, that makes them
something worth doing,
it's finding that one thing that, you know, something worth doing for them, whatever that is. People just live and they fuck around and then they just die.
Yeah.
Not to say that they're living bad lives. I'm pretty sure like lots of people are, in general, like, man, if you compare our lives to, like, let's say your forefathers, like your great grandparents, man, we're all living good lives, really.
Yeah.
Most of us are living
we're living lives. Really great lives.
Yeah.
Too comfortable, actually. You know, like, to close off, I'm going to say this. So in my new apartment here in Osaka, we don't have the
we have 5 minutes. We have 5 minutes, actually. So
yeah. We don't have the toilet doesn't have the bidet, right? So recently I saw, like, in the elevator for the building, that they might the company that owns the building might consider installing the bidet in all the apartments, right? And so because I couldn't understand the entire document because it was all in Japanese, I asked Himiko, my wife, what does this mean? And she said that, oh no, they're not installing the bidets, they're just telling you how to, they just put this picture there to explain something different, right? I was saying, Himiko, fuck, life is so hard, we don't even have a bidet in our house, you know?
Wow. You're living like a king now, huh?
I don't know a bidet, what the fuck, my life is terrible. Because I've always, you know, since I came to Japan, I've always had a bidet. This is the first time I haven't had a bidet. And I'm like, maybe I should actually just buy one for myself. That's I feel like I'm lost without it.
Wait, so you always use the bidet?
Yeah, of course I did, man. Of course.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I guess, yeah, we are very comfortable in this modern world, extremely comfortable. We're comfortable to the point that we seek out things to complain about.
Pretty much.
Yeah, like me seeking out complaining about a bidet, you know?
I think we had this conversation in the past. At least maybe it was a conversation we had on the phone. I like, literally, the reason why we're like, well, even more prone to complaining now is because our lives are too easy. And we've lost perspective, actually. Or it's easy, to be fair, it's easy to lose perspective when everything is good, you know? But me and you just need to, like, that's what it means to be mindful and to be grateful, right? You need to always try to apply the right perspective to your life, where it's just like, man, you woke up today and you're still alive. That already is just like, do you understand that you're still alive? That already is like, you should be super grateful for that in the first place. 2, you didn't wake up in the middle of the morning and get a random call that, like, your parents are dead, you know?
Exactly.
And
people do get those calls, you know.
Me and you are reaching that age too, right? Maybe not our parents, but like our grandparents. It'll start with our grandparents. But then 10, 15 years down the line, it'll definitely be like probably our parents. You're going to get a 3 a.m. phone call from your cousin, your brother, your aunt. Like, your dad passed away.
Yeah.
Like, it's coming, for sure.
Of course, yeah.
So when you wake up in the morning and every day and like you wake up and you didn't get that call, that's just like, it's a gift. It's a blessing. And this is just before your day's even started, you know? When you really look like your wife is here. You have a family. Your daughter has a wife. Like, your daughter has a father and a mother that are healthy. You can go and work for this job that you don't even like, but the lights are fucking on. Dude, it's all just a miracle. It's all just a miracle, you know? You don't have to walk, like, I don't know, hundreds of miles to work. You can take this train that's always on time.
No one is hustling you for money.
No one's hustling you for money.
There are no thieves around. There are no pickpockets.
I'm just like, when I really, like, I have these sessions of trying to, like, think, like, I have sessions of like, hey, what can I be grateful for today? It's just, there's so much to be grateful for. Me and you are constantly, we're getting more free, more rich every year. I think we're getting even more, we're getting more smarter and more useful.
Oh yeah, definitely, for sure. I will say not even more smarter, we're becoming more competent individuals.
Yes.
I definitely feel that way about myself. This year has been a huge shift in my personality, and like, I think the direction at which my life has been taking has changed drastically just in this few months.
It's all started from Corona, man. I felt like Corona was like the awakening. Like before that, it was like, not to say I was bad, but it did feel like I was kind of asleep, you know. And like you said, in the first like 8 months, man, it's been just a huge journey. Huge journey, you know. And like I wanna, I guess, but I think the next in the next episode we should finish this off with modern religion, like modern ages, like how we reached here. We can talk about
wait. So if we're recording next week Wednesday, oh, it's still March. You're right.
So that'll be the final episode. Just we talked about like the Middle Ages and prehistoric ages a bit. We can touch on like modern ages, and maybe we can talk about like the big 3 or the big 4 religions in the world a little bit more deeply. So I think I feel like that's a fitting conclusion.
Yeah, but I wanted to close off by saying my final thoughts today are that I think for the theme for April.
No, you announced it at the final episode. Don't announce it now.
Just the reason why I'm announcing is because I would like those listeners to give us some ideas, some topics to discuss as we move forward. Because I think recently we've been getting a lot of comments from the listeners, right? Last week we started off with Nails Nathan. There've been a couple I've been getting as well, and I'm very happy to get these suggestions because it means we are getting listeners. People are actually following us. People are actually helping us grow, and I want our listeners to be part of the next theme. I'm considering two themes right now. Considering, they have not decided. Number 1, it's art. I'm considering art and its impact on the human psyche. And number 2, just psychology, relationships and psychology. Human relationships and psychology.
Oh, that's a big one though. Psychology in general and relationships, it's like
how relationships affects your psychology and vice versa.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, so art and psychology, or relationships and psychology. So all those listeners out there, if you have input, we would love to get it. You know, like you can just comment on YouTube. Can you comment on Spotify? You can't, right? Nope. Okay, so maybe we'll drop down our email address on the Spotify on the the description, and you can email us there. And for those people who have been sending me messages via Line and WhatsApp and Facebook, please go on, keep doing that. I appreciate that. I think we're going in the right direction, Jason.
Yes, we are. So, for all the listeners out there, thanks for listening. Be grateful. Stay dangerous.
Stay dangerous, Jesus Christ.
Stay dangerous. Stay dangerous. Stay dangerous. Be alert. Stay dangerous.
Be alert. Okay. Be attentive. Okay. Thank you so much for listening, and this has been another episode of Dreams and Trash with Jayson and Oscar. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.